Ukrainian forces are claiming major victories on the battlefield after recapturing large parts of territories in eastern Ukraine. Local officials say Ukrainian troops on Saturday took back the strategic city of Izium, areas around the country's second largest city, Kharkiv, forcing Russian forces to retreat. Russia initially claimed it was pulling back to regroup. However, Moscow yesterday acknowledged that it had lost nearly all of the northern parts of Kharkiv. Ukraine's commander-in-chief says their forces have retaken more than 1,000 square miles of the land since the counteroffensive began at the beginning of the month. That is more area than Russian forces have captured in all of their operations in Ukraine since April. Remarkable. Videos from Kharkiv yesterday showed local residents celebrating and hugging Ukrainian troops. Analysts say the fast-moving Ukrainian offensive shows that the tide of the war is shifting. Meanwhile, the New York Times reporting that Russia's performance has prompted discontent among pro-Kremlin bloggers and staunch Vladimir Putin loyalists, creating new challenges for the Russian president. Joe, this feels like a turning point.
Well, it is. It certainly is a turning point at a critical time before winter sets in. You can be certain that Russia is going to try at some point their own counteroffensive, and we'll see what happens there. But as far as this stage of the war, Admiral, as you said several weeks ago, winter is coming. A successful Ukrainian counteroffensive, absolutely necessary before everybody's frozen in place by the long Russian and Ukrainian winter. So if you could tell us how these victories fit in and just give us the scope and the impact of these advances by the Ukrainians.
I think they're very significant, Joe. And, you know, you reach back and look at other wars. Think about the Korean War. At the beginning of that war, the North Koreans had massive advances, pushed the South Koreans and the U.S. allies all the way to a tiny corner of what is today South Korea. The landing at Incheon kind of came around behind them and created a new circumstance on the battlefield. So, yeah, I think this is pivotal. We'll know more in the days and weeks ahead, of course. But 4 quick points. One, tactically, this is really hurting the Russians in all the ways Mika mentions, but also it's the loss of manpower, the loss of morale as they watch this unfold, the Russian troops. Operationally, what the Ukrainians have showed us is they can conduct a complex, dual front, if you will, offensive set of operations using combined arms very effectively. Thirdly, strategically, think how this is playing today in Beijing, where they're in preparations for the big meeting with Xi and Putin, and how this is being portrayed there. They're going to try and make it look better than it is. And then fourth and finally, and I think most obviously, huge psychological uplift for the Ukrainians. Look at that flag flying. Look at the faces of those people. As one would say about war, the morale is to material, the equipment as 3 is to 1. This is a pretty good moment for the Ukrainians.
So, Admiral, you mentioned MacArthur's brilliant landing at Incheon. That obviously was just a strategic move, brilliance that caught the communists off guard. I'm curious, what happened here? How did we have such a decisive turning point and such a rapid collapse by Russian forces?
I would point to 3 things, Joe. The first was a brilliantly executed campaign of misdirection. Everyone was talking about the coming offensive in the south. It was going to be focused on Kherson. It was going to be cutting off the Crimean Peninsula. And by the way, that is moving forward, but that was all the Ukrainians talked about. Meanwhile, they were preparing for this strike in the north and in the east. Secondly, you're really seeing now the heavy impact of the Western equipment going into this. That is very significant. And then thirdly, The moment at which the Russian troops start to see the walls close in on them, you really feel that, armies are like people. They get scared. They find themselves in moments when all of a sudden all you want to do is turn around and run. And these are Russian troops, many conscripts among them, second tier. A lot of them have been killed, maybe 80,000 killed and wounded. This is not a red badge of courage moment. These troops are going to start rolling out. I think that's going to accelerate in the days ahead.